They don't wanna. Don't wanna.
Hi guys and welcome to Married with Clix. Today we're going to be giving you guys our More of Light Month 3 breakdown. Very excited for this one. Two new things about it. First thing is that it's wave 2 of these boosters, so whole new set of characters that we got to do sealed with. The second part of it is that with our 2 boosters sealed, we were actually building up to 400 points instead of the 300 points that we did for month 1 and 2. So, with my build, with my packs, it's kind of a funny story. There's this one guy at our venue that every time we do sealed, he always pulls a chase. Or, like, almost always, like, 9 times out of 10 we do a sealed, he will pull a chase. It's ridiculous. So, of course, we're all opening our boosters, and the first thing he does is turn around and show me the freaking chase that he pulls. So I'm like bitching about him, like calling him out and stuff, and just joking of course. But so I turn to my packs and I open the first flip and flap, and the first thing I see is a tombstone, and I'm like, all right, I'm good. And of course that would be the Black Hand super rare, who has the possession trait for the Black Lanterns, and out of about 3 people I'm one of 3 people in our venue that actually know how to use the possession guys forward and backward, considering I fielded 2 of them at nationals. So this guy was an instant play on my team. So then I got to look at the rest of my boosters, and the biggest heavy hitter that I got in of what I've got was Kilowog. So I'm like, great, that's an instant play. And then looking around, I'm like, okay, what would be the best thing to go with Black Hand and Black Lantern Hal Jordan? Now, once I got these 3 guys, plus my full power battery up until that point, so power battery, green ring, 4 constructs, I was just like, okay, I still have like 92 points to work with. I'm like, I don't know what to do with myself here. So the first thing was that Sarek, he's out. 101 points. Didn't even look at what he does, because I'm just like, alright, he's not going to work into my build. So my 2 lower point guys were Dexstar and the Indigo Tribe recruit, and it wasn't enough points to be able to play them together, so they kind of went onto the sidelines unless I could find anything better to fit in. So it left me with Miriam, a Ceranic Natu, a controller, and Monk. So basically I just flipped them to the top of their dials, and it was basically Monk has phasing teleport, controller has phasing teleport, Ceranic Natu has Force Blast. Oh look, Miriam has running shot, she's on my team. So I was really just aiming for a lot of mobility. In sealed I don't like having characters that can't move and attack. Even when I do build teams outside of sealed, I prefer move and attack characters. But that's just my personal playstyle. First round, I went up against a newer player to our venue, Jordan, and he was playing the full 300 point Sinestro Hal Jordan, and he had a Red Lantern recruit and a Star Sapphire recruit. So I ended up getting dice roll, and I decided to go with the waterfall map, which was actually a bad choice for me, because the problem with that was just there's one section of the map that's lower than everywhere else, and no matter where you put your power battery, you can't see the bottom of the waterfall, which unfortunately was just bad placement on my part and bad map choice. So anyways, I moved my team forward, just kind of positioning out, managed to get constructs out, and I got a little too aggressive with Kilowog and had him out right away. And he just got boom, 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 done. So he was out really, really, really quickly, to the point where I didn't even get to see pretty much what he does outside of just looking at his dial. So I had Mary and Hal move forward. He was moving forward. His Star Sapphire, unfortunately, wasn't able to get the reach to get to me, so he kind of had to basically throw her in my face.
Face.
And same with the Red Lantern recruit. So I was picking off those little guys, and there was one point where Miri and Hal were next to each other, and the Star Sapphire recruit was in front, and she was tokened, and she didn't have willpower or Indomitable, so she'd be pushing. And I'm sitting there biting my tongue, because he's debating whether to push or not, because she had Flurry with Blade's Claws, and would have a potential to do a lot of damage, and her attack versus my defense weren't that bad comparatively. But the problem with Miri was on top dial, so she's got shape change, and Hal Jordan had the decoy on him, so he's got shape change. I think that's how I set it up. So I'm like, either way, there's gonna be like a roll off. So I'm like sitting there. I'm like, okay, don't push. Don't. I'm like, just don't. It's not a good idea. So he pushed and targeted Miri, and she made her shape change roll, and he killed himself. So then it basically just came down to Miri, Hal, and Sinestro Hal duo. And I had the full green power battery, so at least I was cutting down free actions, which basically for that duo is just cutting off their duo attack. At one point, he's top dial Perplex as well with running shot, so that just meant he wasn't able to get his Perplex and running shot in the same turn. So slowed him down a little bit, but we were basically just trading blows. I've got Black Hand to give Hal Jordan an invulnerable and +1 to his defense. There's little placing mishap that didn't have too much of an effect on the game once we found it, but we found it a little too late to correct it. And so Miri got taken out, and then it was just Hal and the Sinestro Hal duo, and I was basically, I'm not winning right now. Like, Kilowog is 140 points, so I mean, right off the bat, he had a huge point advantage on me. So I'm like, I have got to take out this duo. So he just started to run, and I'm like, no, I got to get you. So we kind of had a standoff on the other side of the map. And it was coming really close to time, and we were just going, and I had to keep taking, Psychic Blast from Black Hand to be able to damage him, because I was only doing 2 damage. I think I got him to click 9 or 10 out of 11. Before he finally wiped me out, just before time. And it was pretty much like last action was called, and he managed to get his hit and took out Hal Jordan. So he managed to do a good sweep on me. But I did get 95 points, so at least I wasn't scoring nothing on that round. In my second round, I was up against a younger guy who I personally have not seen at our venue before. Our judge seemed to know him, so I don't know if he was a regular customer or if I just have never come on weeks where he's shown up. But a younger guy named Bryce, and he was pretty much playing almost the exact same team. But instead of the Star Sapphire recruit, he had the Black Lantern Reanimate. So once again, I won roll-off for the map, and I was like, I need the other side, the space map. Much better for me. Especially because where the starting areas are, you can put your power battery in the starting area, which is right on the edge of elevated, and see almost the entire map except that little indent in the center of the lantern, where that's elevated 1 and everything else is elevated 2. So it was a lot of positioning in the middle. He was being very cautious about coming towards my team. So I managed to get all my 3 of my constructs out on all 3 of my guys. And I just kind of moved around. I had Kilowog and Miri go one side and Hal go the other way. And I purposely went and hugged the curve of the lantern. If you guys know the map, you'll understand what I'm talking about. And so I put Kilowog and Miri up a along the curve there so that to come in and attack me, he would have to attack me on the direct 45-degree angle, which from where he was, Sinestro didn't have enough range for his running shot and movement to actually come out to that spot to hit me, so he had to come forward. But then coming forward, I had Miri come out from behind Kilowog and running shot precision strike, but I couldn't get her. She was only right at the top dial. He's got 19 defense, and she's only got a 10 attack. So it was pretty much high rolls. So it was her and Kilowog, and then Sinestro moved away at one point, and the recruits were coming forward. Hal Jordan came around to take shots off at Sinestro, while the recruits came and based Kilowog and Miri. So I repositioned Hal to start shooting at the recruits, and with those little guys, they don't do too much. They don't have too many clicks of life there. At one point, I did a flurry with Kilowog, I believe. Had it where I was doing three damage, and that got rid of the recruit. So it ended up being just his duo versus all three of my guys pretty much at top dial. So it was trading off. He couldn't do his free actions because of my battery, so he was only doing like one attack versus my 3. So even though the numbers were against me with his high defense and my lower attacks, eventually I was getting enough. I was rolling enough dice that I was hitting him, and eventually just cleared out the duo there, and still had at least, I think, 2 out of the 3 of my guys, if not all of them, still at top dial by the end of that game. So it was kind of a brutal beating on the Sinestro Hal duo there. Kind of felt bad. The kid was only like 14. And I always feel bad when I play younger, inexperienced players. But my third game was just absolutely hilarious. At this point, I'm 1-1, and I'm not really contending for anything. So I'm like, all right, let's just have fun with this. So one of our newer regulars, who's been coming out more regularly, a guy named Adam, and he sat down, and it was funny because as soon as he sat down across from me, he was like, yeah, it's time for a fun game. Because even when I win or lose, I'm always sitting there laughing my ass off in these games. So he had a full Black Lantern team, and he had the Black Lantern Spectre, a Black Lantern Reanimate, and Abensur. So he unfortunately won the dice off on that and picked the waterfall map, which I'm like, crap, I don't like the waterfall map for my team. So it was a lot of positioning, but unfortunately just the reach on Spectre was that he came really aggressive right into my area right away, carrying Abensur as well. And I was just like, oh, crap. Like, I didn't have time to put constructs on my characters. I didn't have time to do anything. So it was basically just right in their fight. And so I focused on Abensur right away and ended up taking him out. Miri died right away. And unfortunately with her, even though she's got that really awesome shape change, where she gets +1 to her shape change roll for every 100 points of her the attacking opponent, she only has it on her first 2 clicks. So as soon as she gets 3 damage, she doesn't have that anymore. And that's also where her Mystics team ability comes from. So unfortunately, one good hit, or one even average hit, most characters nowadays do 3 damage, so 1 hit and she's off that ability. So she was out, and then Kilowog left, and once again it came down to Hal Jordan and his opponent, and so he's just trading blow for blow, and I couldn't really do anything to get around Spectre, and I think I got him 2 or 3 clicks in. But then he also is traded Steel Energy, so anytime he did me damage, he was taking it all back. So in the end, Hal got wiped out, Spectre stood tall, destroyed my team. So not the absolute worst that I've done in World of Light so far, because last month was really bad and I scored pretty much no points. But even just looking at event points, I'm now sitting at 16 because I've had month 1 was a 2-1, which got me 6 points. Month 2 was 1-2, which got me 5 points, and then this month was 1-2, which got me 5 points. So I'm nowhere near in the running for the Necron on this, but I'm still not doing horrible. I still haven't had an 0-3 yet, which I had a couple of those in Fear itself. So hopefully I'll keep that little bit going.
Month 3 of War of Light. So apparently I blew all my luck with regards to super rares and primes and etc. on month 1. And I should have come in with a little bit more knowledge going into this month. Although that's probably saying a little bit much when you get to the end of it. It took me a while to build my team this time around. For a couple reasons. Reason number 1, I pulled 3 Red Lanterns in Hal Jordan, the Red Lantern Hal Jordan, the Red Lantern Guy Gardner, and the Red Lantern Lara, and a Red Lantern Ring. Really hard not to play these guys with a loaded power plant to give them all +1 to their stats. And throw on the Soranak Natu, who I also drew to add some TK to the party. Really hard not to play that team. Equally hard not to play was the fact that I pulled 2 Firestorms and a Hal Jordan. As I'm sure Amber already mentioned, our Warlight was 400 points for month 3. So you get 2 Firestorms, Hal Jordan, and I pulled a Black Lantern Ring. But equally more annoying is we're allowed to use the Green Lantern Ring from the Scenario Pack and, constructs load up the thing when you pull a Sodom Yat, which is actually the team I built last. Allow me to explain. I came into this tournament not knowing anything about Sodom Yat. I heard a couple people say he was good, and I was like, oh, well, okay, don't know the name, whatever. How good can he be? And then I looked at his stats. I was like, oh, hey, what's this big jump in the red line? So I had to go to the card to see what the power does, and the defense power is that it's a stop click. And he has it for 1, 2, he has it for that click and 2 other clicks. So it's 3, it's like a 3-step Bizarro to have to try to kill this guy. And the stats on all 3 of those clicks are really reasonable. If you have the right support, or say, a Green Lantern Ring on a power plant. So my team ended up becoming Sodom Yat, Soranak Natu, and the Indigo Tribe Recruit with a green power plant, which, of course, also messed with my opponents. Fun fact, I pulled a Crit Controller. This thing's ugly! Ugly! I was tempted to play it, but once I read what Sodom Yat did, that decision became easy. So, I had the Indigo Tribe Recruit. The goal with that was to kind of block that first stop click of Sodom Yat to kind of make my opponent work harder to get to him, because I had the feeling that I was going to have to use Sodom Yat as bait for a lot of my games, and the bait worked. Except for the one game where he took 2 damage the whole game. 3. He took 3 penetrating poison damage from those red lanterns. Those were obnoxious. So let's get into it. First round, fellow's name was Travis. Travis was playing... This is going to be the first time I do this. He was playing Red Lantern Hal, a Red Lantern Recruit, Monk, and something else. He hasn't been to any of the events thus far, and as a result didn't have a power battery to work off of, so that put him at a slight disadvantage. It was also his first tournament since 2008. Another disadvantage for the poor guy, as I am currently on a bit of a roll with the War of Lights. Or I was currently on a roll. So my game plan was basic. Put a construct on Sodom Yat, give him +1 to his stats except for damage. He doesn't need extra damage, he's got lots of damage. Throw him forward with Soranak Natu, do some clubbing with the fisticuffs, and let Sodom Yat just kind of fight it out there. He's one of those guys where you put him in the middle and just hope it all goes well. if you're starting to get concerned about the way things are going, by the time you get to be concerned, you have hypersonic, so you get out. Simple as that. Knowledge is power in this game, and knowing these kinds of things really help. So the game came down to, he also had an Abensur, Black Lantern Abensur on his team. That's what it was. So he did at one point very early have my Sodomyat surrounded by penetrating poisoners and Red Lantern guys, Red Lantern Hal and Red Lantern Recruit. He was using the Hal Jordan's ability to use the willpower very effectively, but ultimately Sodomyat could get very overwhelming very quickly, and a Indigo Tribe Recruit with 3 range and range combat expert sitting in the sidelines with sidestep can get very harassing if you're focusing on a Sodomyat. Also, I had Sornak Natu, because we were playing on the moon map, and we all ended up meeting at Elevation 2, which is where the starting areas are at and the middle area is at. Sornak Natu's range got put up to 7 by having a construct, so she was blowing away things from a distance too, with her 3 damage and 11 attack as a result of the construct. So, I wouldn't say it was a blowout. He did manage to, at one point, kill my Indigo Tribe Recruit. But it was a slow burn where I just slowly whittled him down, 1 character at a time with attacks from Sodomyat, and then it was just Abensur left at the end of the game, and I completed that one, scoring a good number of points on that. My next round, poor guy got paired up. Matthew T, a guy we used to play way back in the day. I played versus with him a couple times. He used to work at the venue that we used to play at way back in the day. He also had a Sodomyat. Go fig. He did not have a power plant, but he's also playing it with Salic. He was playing it at, of course, the 250 point value, which is really the only way you play Sodomyat. I can't stress that enough. If you're not going to play Sodomyat at the 250 point value, do not play him. You are doing yourself no favors. But it came down to, he was very cleverly playing his team with he was sticking it out with the Salic. And once again, my Indigo Tribe Recruit just didn't make it through the game. But it eventually came to a clubbing match, which involved my Sodomyat with 2 constructs on him because I hit the number 5. And the number 6 showing on my power plant. So as you can imagine, when you have 2 constructs on a character who's already getting the bonus of the core, you've got +3 to all stats except for damage, which is getting +2. So it was very easy for my Sodomyat to hit his Sodomyat, and he couldn't get an impervious roll at all. So that came down to a big win for me. It was a hard-fought battle. Sodomyat versus Sodomyat is a clubbing match. It's 2 guys sitting in the middle going, in the middle of the map. And as the next game I played in the final will tell you, that's exactly how it played out. But this one was more of an effective use of my attempted bait strategy. This time it was a Sodomyat and a Moro with 2-itemed battery, one of which being a decoy, which found its way very quickly to his Sodomyat. So what had happened was he positioned his Moro up forward and his Sodomyat up forward. What he didn't account for when he was counting up some squares was the fact that because you get +1 to all your combat values except for damage from the Green Lantern ring, you get the extra range. So when I TK'd up my Sodomyat, I had an 8 range, and since Sodomyat sees through hindering, I gave him a crossbow, and I blew his Moro out of the water. 1 big 6 damage attack. Did a lot of damage. It wasn't dead yet, but he tried to running shot forward and do some damage on my Sodomyat. Didn't fare so well as I eventually charged him, leaving my Sodomyat very clearly in range of his Sodomyat's charge. I wanted to do this to get to that gigantic stat bonus I needed. Now, this is where the game became a gigantic roll-off. I made an attack with my Sodomyat and ran backwards. I wanted the cover of the power battery in case I was double tokened or anything, and I had the Sornak Natu to kind of double up on the attack dice. But I kept my Indigo Tribe Recruit up against his Sodom Yat in the hopes that he would either waste attacks, or I got lucky and he tried to Hypersonic Break Away and roll a 1. He Hypersonic Break Away and rolled a 1. Oh. So that gave my Sodom Yat a chance to clear. He eventually made the second attempt to break away, but at that point I had managed to do the switch power and move the crossbow off of Sodom Yat onto the Indigo Tribe Recruit, who had been given the decoy at a couple turns earlier. So that was switched. So now it was a matter of his Sodom Yat attacks my Sodom Yat. I roll Shape Change. Okay, does he hit? He hits. I roll Impervious. My Impervious rolled off the damage. I attack his Sodom Yat. He rolls Shape Change. I can't attack it. Gosh darn it. As you can imagine, it was a gigantic back and forth. But what put it in my favor was the fact that I had 3 attackers versus his only 1 attacker after I had killed his Moro. I had the Indigo Tribe Recruit, and I had Saranac Natsu in the back with 7 range, 11 attack, who could do 3 damage, so if he couldn't roll off that damage, he was taking 1. And any damage you can do when you get to those white defense clicks on Sodom Yat, any damage you can do, you throw it at him. Penetrating poison is the most important thing. I can't stress that enough. If you can get a Red Lantern next to him, do it. If you can get Psychic Blast on him, do it. Anything you can throw at that guy, you have to throw it. Because if you don't and you leave him unchecked, 5 damage with a 12 attack, 13 attack if he's got a green Power Lantern construct on him, is batshit nuts. In addition, he had a Sodom Yat up at a point. He couldn't get another construct on his Sodom Yat. He was 18 more. I forced him 19 squares away from his power battery, and he couldn't get Perplex off. I was able to Perplex as well because he was fighting in my zone, which I kind of forced the situation on, and as a result, I've won my second War of Light tournament at the Comic Warehouse. I've got a big target on my head now at the Comic Warehouse. I have now won month 1 and month 3. I went 2-0 in month 2. I am undefeated in the War of Light. I am
3-0.
on. Heck, what?
3-0.
I went 3. What did I say?
2-0.
2-0. I went 3-0 in month 2. I'm currently undefeated in the Comic Warehouse, and that has got a lot of guys looking at me to get me. They all want a piece of me now, and I don't like it. Everybody wants now. A big proponent of it is the strength of the uncommons in the set and my consistency in pulling them. Month 1 I pulled a Weaponer, month 2 I pulled a Weaponer, month 3 I pulled a Sodom Yat. And I'm getting a little too comfortable playing tentpole teams. I don't know where this came from. I've never been able to effectively play tentpole teams. Even when I do play a tentpole team, it's not really tentpole-y. I've got surprise attackers in all my tentpole versions of teams. And I've been effectively using it in this format, and I don't understand how I've been able to do it. Maybe it's my gung-ho-ness in certain things. I do have a couple. I do have that Carpe Diem, YOLO, charge, seize the day, whatever kind of mentality when I am playing a tentpoler that I know can take a beating. It comes from my old days of always trying to play the Hulk. An unfortunate stigma that I got for a long time. So he's playing a Hulk, here's an easy win. But now they're giving me characters that I can do that with, and it's getting a little frightening for a lot of players I play against. So, thanks to the guys at Comic Warehouse once again at 20 Strathern Avenue for another great War of Light event. It's been exciting. I look forward to month 4. If I pull a Sodom Yat again, I'm playing him. And it's good to see you guys all again. Keep an eye on us. Check out Ryan Morgan at the Gas Cabinet. Needed a little help keeping his video stream alive while he did a live chat with Jake Williams, and we have it on our channel, as we were able to bail him out on that one. So there's an interview with Ryan Morgan and Jake Williams on our channel. So take a look at it. It's a little interesting. It gets a little fumbly when I take over the interview and Ryan Morgan's internet gets down. But I eventually fix it towards the end, I promise. So take a look at that, and let's keep this train going again, guys. Good to see you back.